Hello everyone, this is Kilani Ezekiel, aka Easy Life, and I welcome you today to the Student Place. The Student Place is a platform where we discuss issues relating to student lifestyle, the challenges that students face, opportunities for students such as scholarship, quizzes, and examination that will benefit students. And we also talk about the relationship between students and the family, students and the school, students and the society, and students with one another. On today's episode at the Student Place, we'll be talking about a very important topic that many of you would want to hear. We want to talk about racism in Russia. Does it exist here in Russia? Is there racism or not? Do they treat the blacks badly or not? You know, Russia is a well-developed country and a very powerful country in the world. And people feel that because Russia is as powerful as the US and there's racism in the US, also there'll be racism here in Russia. So we want to look at this topic. I want to hear from some Russians and some Nigerians and some Africans here in Russia so that we'll see what they have to say about this subject matter, whether there's racism in Russia or not. First of all, let's listen to some Russians and see what they have to say about
My
racism.
name is Oleg. I live in Voronezh, Russia, and I'm 17 years old. I want to talk about the racism. Nowadays, we can see a lot of examples of the race discrimination around the world, and many people believe that the racism is a common and usual thing in Russia. I can't believe that it is true, because through its history, Russia was a multicultural and multi-confessional state, and there are more than 200 nations that can call the Russian Federation as their motherland. Unfortunately, there are some illegal nationalist and even fascist organizations among Russians, but they aren't popular and have not many followers. Our government tries to make steps against the racism. We have anti-racist laws, and our constitution criticizes the race discrimination. But to my mind, that control hasn't been strict enough. The Russian Federation signed the convention about the full liquidation of the race discrimination, and our government makes its regular reviews on this topic for the Special Committee of the United Nations Organization. To sum up, I want to note that despite some exceptions, Russians are hospitable and friendly in general, and we don't appreciate the racism. More than in our country, there is a strong anti-fascist and anti-racist movement. Thank you for your attention.
Sasha, in fact, this is a very serious problem because now many people hate other because no one just has a different skin color. My opinion is wrong. We are all equal. We all live on the same planet. We all breathe the same air, so let's applicate each other. Let's live in a world full of harmony and purity. No matter what color your skin is, it's important what you have inside. Because to have a person just because they look different, it's not only stupid but also dangerous. It is dangerous first of all for those who hate, because they themselves lose their humans apprehensions.
Hey everyone, I was asked if we have a problem with racism in Russia, and it is something we need to acknowledge really, because we see that due to the upbringing of people in Russia, especially amongst the young people. We see problems like this, they arise. And probably these problems with racism and all that, it doesn't only relate to people who come from countries like from Africa or South America, but it even involves people that come from regions around Russia as well. Because during the Soviet Union, the country was a very large country. We had a very big landmass. So because we were so big, we had different tribes, people from different ethnicities, people from different cultures that were all in the Soviet Union together. And when people from these countries that were in Soviet Union before come to Russia, even they encounter some little problems because of their race. And of course, this is very terrible. It's, like I won't say, it's sorrowful. So sometimes we see some little excesses, some little problems people have with their race, but it doesn't happen on a mass scale because we all consider ourselves us and people who live in one country. We are all Soviet people, we can say. Not just Russians, Uzbeks, Tajiks, just Soviet people. And for the new generation, we see that they also have this kind of thinking, this kind of upbringing. We and all those other people that live within the territory of USSR, we are all considered the same. This is how I think. And even now in Moscow, we have an institute, and this institute is called Institute of International Cooperation. And of course, this institute has been given the assignment to raise awareness concerning international cooperation and also to raise also the ideology that we are all the same. So this is how we, older people, were taught. This is how we were brought up. But unfortunately, amongst the young generation, we currently do not have any type of moral and decent upbringing concerning other people's races. So they always think that people who are different, who come from different countries, who have different cultures, are way different from them. And sometimes for them it can be difficult relating with them. And sometimes problems can arise because of this. There can be conflicts, and sometimes this is what we call racism. So we see in Russia, we have certain things like this happening. They are not a lot like in other countries, but yes, it's present in Russia as well. For example, in Europe, there are some encounters where people fight and all that. But I think in Russia, we really don't have any of these problems on a large scale.
We heard from the Russians about this subject matter, and you can see what they have to say, that here in Russia, there's no racism. So what do Nigerians who have been studying here in Russia have to say about this? I'm going to ask some Nigerian students who have been studying here for some time now what they feel about the subject matter. We've heard from the Russians. Let's hear from the Nigerians and see what they have to say.
My name is Joel Isua, and I have been in Russia for about 10 years. Since the question is what do I think about racism in Russia? The actual fact is that when I came, racism was very pronounced, It was obvious. You could see it in the street, in the shop. When you applied for job, it was everywhere. But with time, recently, everything is changing. The whole situation with racism is pacifying. I mean, you can walk in the street now very late and you'll be free. I mean, safe. When I came, we were told not to walk in the street at night, not to walk alone. We walked in companies. I mean, large group numbers. But now I can walk freely even in those areas that, places like Mashmet in Varones were the most dangerous places in the city. And they told us not to go there alone. But that's where I usually go to take a bus to go to work. And I go there alone, I come back at 8 o'clock, and I sit with Russians in the bus, we laugh and talk. And I know why it has pacified. The reason why it is reducing, you need to throw it away. The reason why it has reduced is that there are lots of foreigners in the city now, and the Russians are used to us now. So I think that's the main agent of the whole reduction in racism. I think that's the secret why it's disappearing. There are lots of foreigners everywhere in the city. So when you see them, you go to the next street, you see them, you go to another street, you see foreigners, you're like, okay, now I know. Now I know they are everywhere, so I'm used to them. So, yeah, that's what I can say about racism.
Yes, good evening. My name is Audrey Manuel. I'm from Nigeria, and I've been in Russia as a student since 2015. To be precise, since the November 2015. And yes, it has been a very, very wonderful experience, or should I even say a mixed experience, because there are good times and there are bad times. There are times that I felt different from other people, and there are times I felt united with them. So I'm here to talk about racism based on personal experience, and yeah, that's what I'm here to talk about. Personally, I think generally we see racism as a discrimination or an antagonism. An antagonism being directed towards another person based on the person's race, even religion too. But yeah, personally in Russia, okay, the world knows Russia as a very homophobic country, and it's also known for its high rate of racism. I'm not saying that they're totally wrong, because personally I've experienced it. Especially when I just came to the country, that was in 2015. I found it very, very hard to adapt, because every now and then I get reminded that I'm not Russian, and Russia is not actually my place. So I just had to tell myself that the best thing to do was to stay on my own lane and just mind my business, because I think one of the worst experiences I've ever had was I think that should be early 2016, when I was in a bus going to school, and then I received a phone call from a friend of mine, and I was answering the call with my native language, that's Igbo, and then I think one woman just turned, out of the blue, she turned, and then she was like, why can't I speak Russian? Why can't I just communicate in Russian? As if it's somewhere in the constitution that if you are in Russia, you are meant to speak Russian language anywhere you go. And then I was very surprised. I was very short of words, and she was like screaming at the top of her voice that I'm not allowed to talk in a language that they don't understand. That if I don't want to learn Russia, I should leave their country. So I think that was my very first experience of racism out of many, but I think that was the one that just stuck to my mind, and yeah. It was really, really hurtful, but I think that's life. So yeah, that's all I have to say. But in general, I think I've had a very nice experience. It helped me to grow psychologically too, and academically too. And I hope that in the future we learn to see each other as one. It's going to be very hard, because I see racism as sickness, or should I say, I see it as a virus with no cure, no vaccine, nothing. And I think we will end up fighting it to the end of our lives. But I do hope that one day things will change. I'm just working on that. So thank you so much and have a good day.
My name is Evelyn Noah. I've been studying in Russia for close to 5 years now. I'm my final year. The question is if I have experienced racism. Personally, I don't recall experiencing any racism, but as a group, we have experienced racism. And yes, racism does exist. It's very well spread in Russia. It exists even among not only like blacks, but foreigners majorly.
Apart from Nigerian students, there are other African students that study here in Russia. Let's also hear from them and see what they have to say about this subject matter, racism.
My name is Eugene. I'm from Ghana, and what should I say about racism in Russia? Well, I've been here for like 7 years. 7 years, and getting to 8 years. Racism here, it differs. It depends on the very first people. Some of them, I think sometimes they are just curious to know who you are, and if you don't give in to them, that is when sometimes it's that. But I think racism in this place is not as much as it is. They don't really do. There are some of them who does it. We can't take racism away from every place, but there are some who does, but it's not as much as this. I remember my first time of coming here in Moscow, where the driver that we took. So in Ghana, we have the principle that when you eat, you're supposed to put the food, the packet inside the car, so that the bus, so that the driver later will clean it. So this driver, we finished it, we put it in the bus. He was so angry, he started insulting us and then telling us all this kind of thing. At that time, what we thought was racism, but I think he was just angry because it's not allowed over here, and that's it. Aside that, just minor racism that we see.
Oh yeah, my viewers out there, you've heard from the Russians, Nigerian students, and other African students here in Russia about this subject matter, racism. And I'm sure that we are all convinced beyond doubt that here in Russia, there is nothing like racism. Russians are so welcoming, they embrace Africans. In fact, they love to see Africans, they love to see the blacks. There is kind of joy that they feel, this kind of happiness that they feel when they see the blacks, when they see African students. They tend to want to relate with us, want to talk with us, want to take pictures with us, and those stuff like that. So here in Russia, as you can see, there's no racism. So if you are tired of coming to Russia to study or to spend time or for holiday, you are free to come. The Russians are going to welcome you, they are going to embrace you, they are going to give you a very good time here in Russia. So fellow students out there that want to come to Russia, you are welcome. And my viewers, as you can see, here in Russia it is very good, and it's a good place to stay. So this is the end of this episode at the student place. We hope to see you next week at the student place. And if it's your first time to come here, kindly click on the subscribe button below this video and subscribe to the student place so that you'll be part of what is happening here at the student place. See you next week, same time. Bye.